Hello there, and welcome to our first episode of Here Are Rants, Episode 1. We are broadcast to you out of Bloomington, Indiana. We are your hosts, Bill
and Shaun.
And we are going to go through our rants with you this evening. First is, you're probably wondering, why us? Why come to us to listen to our rants? And what are we going to accomplish here? In the terms of accomplishment, I don't know what we're accomplishing.
We don't know.
To be honest. No, but maybe you all listeners can help us figure that out.
We're here to ask the hard questions to ourselves, actually.
And you can give your input or not in the comment section below. And if you like what you're listening to, please feel free to say so.
Or you can donate, but we don't have any way for you to donate right now, so just keep those dollars in your pocket.
So we'll get back to that.
Yeah.
So, Shaun, why don't you take us in on topic 1 here?
Okay, topic 1. All right, conspiracy shit. Now, this is not a conspiracy-centered show. We're not willing, or we are willing, actually, to throw a couple conspiracies out there, like, is Britney Spears actually a Martian?
Well, off the cuff.
Yeah.
That's off note here.
Yeah, no, Britney, No, Britney's not a Martian, and we're not knowledge.
I wouldn't go so far to say we're conspiracy theorists, though we do like to exercise our rights to talk about conspiracy theories.
Point of this rant is we're not here to rant about conspiracies necessarily. I mean, it might be the topic 1, but topic 2, Trump,
yeah, Don
Trump.
Jr. Let's look at the news today.
Oh, we'll get back to that. That's actually topic 4.
Okay.
We're going to start here on, still on topic 1, it's news and trends. And,
news and trends?
Yeah, news and trends.
That's good.
Yeah, it sounds trendy. No. So news, I mean, we all know what news is. There's enough of that. We're not here to give you news. We're here to give you rants.
I'll say this, and I've been saying this to a few people now this week. Discussion of Trump and news and such.
I don't discuss Trump in public.
That's probably a wise thing.
Yeah.
But I was talking with different people over the last few weeks, and a lot of people are not into the whole Trump presidency at this point.
Trump.
Right. And I'm not saying I am or I'm not or anything in between necessarily. And I think Shaun is a
Are you speaking for me?
relatively independent thinker here. Maybe I am speaking for you.
You're speaking for me.
Maybe you're a GOP
I'm a plant.
infiltrator.
I'm a plant.
Right, yeah.
Like a house plant. GOP house plant.
A great old plant.
Good old plant.
But right, wrong, or anything in between that Trump may have been, there is one thing that I have agreed with, and that's the fact that he is actually making people question their news sources for once.
That is a good point. Bill, that is a great point. Because, let's be honest, we didn't know it was all fake news before. Now we know some of it's fake news.
Some of it is fake news.
And if you think that if you just learn this fact, well, you just have to keep listening to us.
But we'll talk more about Trump. There's obviously some big things happening today.
As in MSNBC says, they could talk about Trump. That's what they do.
Speaking of MSNBC, that's a good segue here. I wanted to mention something I saw today. MSNBC host Joe Scarborough is leaving the Republican Party and will be registering as an independent voter. Now, this comes as no surprise to anyone, considering Joe Scarborough has pretty much just been the token conservative on the most liberal channel that we've seen on cable news in quite some time.
Does that mean Mika married a Republican?
Yeah, I guess so.
Ooh, weird.
Yeah, weird. And did they meet on that show?
Yeah. Wait, that's a whole entire...
Okay.
I don't know enough about that.
I don't either. I know that she's had...
There was some cheating involved.
And some plastic surgery, apparently.
According to
some.
Sources.
Right.
Sources.
But apparently he's leaving the Republican Party. As this comes to no surprise, he's also expected to come out of the closet, so to speak, during the Late Show with Stephen Colbert this evening. Which, again, being a fake conservative on a fake news channel, it's no surprise to anybody that he's going to be
conservative.
Or a fake liberal channel. I apologize.
No, he's
the fake conservative.
Yeah.
Right, on the fake.
There's no such thing
fake
as a
news
fake
channel.
liberal.
Right,
They're
right.
real.
Well, isn't that kind of the whole idea? They're all fake. I don't know.
Yeah,
we'll get to that point.
Gosh.
Let's hop into societal problems here. But we're going to change it up here and let's scratch off of that.
Yeah.
Shaun, why don't you bring us into your latest...
Okay, well, on May 19th, it became news to some out of the Gray Lady, the Herald Times. No,
they call that the Gray Lady these days?
No, this is a dead lady. Herald Times is the local Bloomington rag. No, but the New York Times. The New York Times reported a wonderful story. Drag Queen Story Hour puts the rainbow in reading. Very clever. Very clever. It took me at least 5 times reading that title before I got the gay reference. But that article was mostly about Drag Queen Story Hour, which is put on by a group called Radar Productions. You can find them on Facebook. And it is the dragqueenstoryhour.org. They're the organization with writer Michelle T. and Radar. And they bring you drag queens.
Now, wait a second.
Reading to young children. Age-appropriate material.
Now, is that Drag Queen Story Hour puts the rainbow in reading? That's the New York Times headline?
Yeah, that's the New York Times headline. That's a couple months ago. And this is when I learned about this. And I'm horrified. I mean, what horrifies anyone for real anymore? Like...
So, folks, so we're clear here, the story is that they are putting on story hours for children aged 2 to 6. Read to them by drag queens. And
age-appropriate literature, apparently.
Age-appropriate literature. Now, here's what's funny, is I feel as though in the title itself, Drag Queen Story Hour puts the rainbow in reading. They're already trying
to... A PBS reference right there.
Yeah, PBS.
Oh, my gosh.
Not only that, it's a reference from your childhood, which somehow makes it all like, oh, well, it's reading rainbow. It's okay.
Yeah.
And somehow it makes me... They're trying to make me feel comfortable.
And I thought I had read about this in NPR, but I believe I originally read about it in the New York Times. Point is, well, in little Podunk, Bloomington, Indiana, we are about to get our own Drag Queen Story Hour put on by the MCPL, the Monroe County Public Library. And before I talk about that, I found some good quotes out of the Herald or the New York Times article. And a few of my favorites are, quote, "At first, we identified branches that we thought would be excited by it," said Ava Shapiro, the early literacy coordinator for the New York Public Library. "We didn't want any surprises. Some neighborhoods are less familiar with the concept, but so far, everyone has been thrilled." And I'm thinking, so there's these neighborhoods out there, and some are less familiar with the concept of drag queens reading to children. Thinking, that's interesting. Second quote that I found pretty interesting was, "Little kids can be wild." This is the drag queen speaking. She's got some bright camouflage and some sort of thing coming out the top of her head.
Yeah, I could see that.
And,
maybe a banana hammock, some kind that try to hide
something going on
hide the
there.
bells and whistles, right?
And yes, Ms. Shapiro said, "We like to joke," this is again speaking of the little kids being wild, "we like to joke they're kind of like drunk adults,"
Okay.
she said. And then goes on to say, the article says, when asked to pinpoint the main difference between Story Hour and an evening drag show, Ms. Sunbeam said jokingly, "I'm sober." Like, oh, okay. So the only difference, that's the main difference. I'm sorry, not the only difference. The main difference is that she doesn't drink when she reads to children in drag.
Well, that's a bonus, I guess.
Well, for whom?
That's true. I guess I'm not...
It did say in the article that these drag queens are taught how to work with large groups of unruly children before the event so that they're able to better manage the reading time. It's a concept.
Now, it doesn't surprise me that it's coming to a place like Bloomington, Indiana.
Of course. Bloomington's a very liberal place.
Right.
And from what I can tell on our Drag Queens to Read to Children at Library headline by the Herald Times, care of Lauren Bavis. Lauren writes her headline, it's a bit less colorful. I'll just put it that way. But there's a very cute, it looks like Corel. Is that Corel clip art there? I think so. It's a stack of books with a sad little princess crown on top of it, and that was the graphic for this one. But yeah, they announced that drag queens are coming to Bloomington and to the library, and apparently the event is sold out. And of course, in a small Midwestern town, even a liberal one, you're going to find some outrage. And you can find that outrage on the Herald Times comment section.
Well, here's my issue, if I may take the floor for a second here. Of course, in a place like Bloomington, Indiana, I find ourselves completely surrounded by a very left-leaning community, which has got its benefits, of course, and its compromises, so to speak. But what I'm not quite able to understand is the idea that at this point in time, accepting and being tolerant of transgenders and drag queens in the LGBTQIA community at large, that's just not enough anymore. Being tolerant and accepting of it all is not enough. What we have to do now is celebrate it. And if you're not willing to celebrate it and actively play a role in celebrating the equality of it, celebrating the greatness of the LGBTQIA community, then unfortunately you'll be portrayed as a bigot if you're not celebrating.
Yeah, let me break in there. I was mentioning a minute ago about the comment section and on the Herald Times, and this is just completely anecdotal here, but I kind of broke down the commenters on to the article, which was essentially the New York Times article, except it's in Bloomington. And I kind of broke it down into 3 groups, each one with of typical responses, and there was like a third, and a third. It was the people who are just completely against this and feel that this is barbaric, essentially, and akin to child abuse. And then another third were the people who are like, if you don't want to do this, then don't go to the library during that, one event. And that's what the, also in the article, the librarian talks about, or the library employee talks about how people who have, talked to her, she said that she would help them find other activities that the library
offers.
Right.
And that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's all well and good, except for the fact that at the end of the day, my tax dollars are going towards supporting these types of programs.
Sure. So there's the lovers, there's the kind of indifferent, but like, hey, let these, do something else. And then there were the people who were, if you had anything at all negative to say about this, you are a bigot.
Right, absolutely.
And you are
absolutely
just the worst person. There can be
aggression.
There can be
aggression. How dare you?
There can be no middle ground on this issue. As soon as you stray from that philosophy, you are a bigot. And that was about a third of the respondents. To the other respondents on this, and like I said, this is completely anecdotal.
Well, and here's the best part. There's all this uproar, and these programs are being promoted, and again, as I said, the celebration of the LGBTQIA community, that's all well and good. At the end of the day, Shaun, do you know what the percentage of transgender people who identify as transgender are in this country?
I thought it was around like 0.75%.
0.6%, according to the New York Times.
I was up by like 20%.
0.6%. So explain to me why tax dollars and resources have to be spent going towards attempting to have our children become more accepting of a population percentage of 0.6%.
Well, that's just one part of that spectrum you were talking about. There's other people that need.
Well, and let's talk about that spectrum for a minute, that LGBTQIA spectrum, because this is, of course, something I rant about often. And you may have heard me rant. Yeah, you may have heard me rant about this in the past, and it's not necessarily the inclusion of all the different letters and such, but it's the forced inclusion of the I and the A. Okay,
Too funny.
If you look into this, folks, the intersex is what the I stands for, and intersex you may know better as the term hermaphrodite. So the other is a LGBTQIA. A is for asexuals, so people that are not interested in sex or
anything
genders of the opposite sex, anything.
I thought my sister was that for a while.
Yeah, and that's fine. So a lot of people are.
Yeah, no, that's not true anymore.
And there's
fluidity. We're getting back to fluidity here.
So at the end of the day, I feel bad for those individuals, especially the asexual individuals who have now been roped into a community of lesbians and gays and people who celebrate their sexuality consistently, when that person doesn't want to be involved with any sex at all.
The asexual,
but now they've been
the
brought
alphabet
in.
Soup, yes.
Yeah. And then, of course, the hermaphrodites or intersex folks as well. Perhaps they want to be more private about their issues or their concerns, or maybe not. Perhaps they want to celebrate it. But at the end of the day, do they need to and want to celebrate it with people of that community? Because it really... did they take a vote?
Turns them off, right?
Well, was there a vote on this? Was there a vote?
Was there a vote? Well,
was
we
there
should
some
look
sort
into
of
the history
society
of
of
the vote
asexual association that took a vote to join the LGBTQ community?
Wild.
And who's next? Who's next?
Who's on their hit list for alphabet soup?
Alphabet soup. Alphabet soup.
Yeah, another harkening back to our childhood again. Yes.
Yeah. And speaking of which, speaking of Bloomington, I'm so happy we're spending our resources and time discussing things like drag queens reading to our young children. Because, of course, we don't have any real problems in town.
I don't have any young children, for the record. But
But here's the thing, is we have bigger problems to be worrying about in Bloomington right now. We have a raging homeless problem in this town.
Coupled with...
Yeah, a drug addiction. And unfortunately, these are things that are being taken lightly. Or they say they aren't, but of course, reading from the IndianaPublicMedia.org here, the city has seen an uptick in drug overdoses the past few weeks, and police recently increased downtown patrols as a result of reports about aggressive panhandling and criminal activity.
They can be aggressive pretty much, 70% of the time, 100% of the time.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Well, I know the police chief now is saying that we are encouraging a lot of new people that are coming to the community, he says. Or, I'm sorry, we are encountering a lot of new people that are coming into the community. And he personally spoke with different people around the state that have admitted that they have bought cab fare or bus tickets to come to Bloomington because of the arrays of services that we have. Now, I think he just said in that statement the biggest part of the problem of our homeless population, did he not? I have personally spoke with different people around the state that have admitted that they have bought cab fare or bus tickets to come to Bloomington.
The biggest problem is
because of the array of services that we have.
Well,
that's the problem. We have an array of services. We're generous, but the problem is
an array.
We have too many of these services to support the size of a community that we have.
So we are attracting and, living with this influx. It's an influx. It's an obvious influx. It's to anyone who's lived here for a decade or more. Even in the past few years, you can see things have changed.
Well, and
substantially.
Here's the problem too: is the mayor. We have a mayor who this is his big solution. We're now entering the third phase of his initiative, which includes better lighting in alleys, new public restroom facilities, and expanded hours for day shelter services.
Porta potties downtown.
None of those things deter any homeless people from coming here. That only encourages more. They'll have more bathrooms, and they'll have expanded hours of day shelter services.
And expanded lighting so they can read books at night.
Right.
I mean, speaking of reading books at night, now this is Bill had mentioned to me earlier jokingly, and I have to go here now because it blew my mind. Bill, what was your idea about after we heard, drag queens reading to children in Bloomington? Well, why don't we just have who read to children?
Have the homeless population and the drug addicts in town. We've had 27 overdoses here in the last week. Why don't we just have these folks read to the children so they can gain perspective on their lives as well?
And of course, he was coming at it from a cynical perspective earlier until I read on the Herald Times article in the Facebook comments from someone who is not trolling or whatever you want to call it these days. Sue says, in addition, speaking of the drag queen reading hour, in addition to this fabulous idea, perhaps some of our friends in the homeless community would like to read to kids as well. Logistics to work out, of course, but could it work?
Well,
I'm thinking that's just what he just said,
Yep.
being a jackass.
Yeah.
And here this lady is serious.
And of course, the ramifications of that are endless. These people don't think at all before they talk because the large part of this population are ex-convicts that have been sent here from other counties
Yes.
as part of their parole because Bloomington offers the services that their communities don't. And that's all well and good, but now the liberals in town want to have our children sit and be read stories by potential sex offenders from other counties that have been sent here for
because it
services.
sounds like a good idea.
It sounds like a
Facebook.
fantastic idea, right?
Yay.
But when you can just post things like that and not think about ramifications, and other people are so blind to a liberal agenda that they don't think about things before they act, and hence Bloomington, Indiana, where we are going to tackle the homeless problem by providing extended day shelter services and more bathrooms. That's going to tackle the problem.
And that's the city, and as the county sheriff just pronounced today in the news that he will no longer be providing Narcan unless there's it's just very complicated. Unless there's an OD, it harkens to the Ohio councilman.
I know what you're talking about.
But yeah, Brad Swain, our local sheriff, decided that he's going to take charge, and his rationale is his officers need to keep the drug on them at all times in case they encounter fentanyl or something potentially incapacitating to them, and they need to be revived. So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, someone on commenting to that article said something to the effect of, well, apparently the Community Drug Recovery Alliance has a whole bunch of this Narcan. Why can't they give it to the sheriffs?
Well, and
I don't think that's how the law works.
I don't know.
I have no idea either. But apparently we have a lot of it, and it cannot be administered by these sheriffs who are dealing with this problem firsthand.
Well, and it's a shame that they're having to deal with this problem. This is a small community. We are having more overdoses than those of major cities in a short amount of time. And they're happening in concentrated areas of town. And like these articles said,
very concentrated areas of town.
With a lot of addicts that are not even from here. And they're coming here to rape our services that we provide. And unfortunately, these services...
It's working.
Yeah, exactly. And these services are only becoming more and more prevalent within the city, including building more housing for the chronically homeless next to existing housing for the same purpose that's within a block of one of the public high schools, or a few blocks. I shouldn't, but it's about 4 blocks from the public high school.
I was wondering what that one was.
Yeah, it's going to be more...
Bloomington's kind of like a mushroom. Just bloop, 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 bloop.
Yeah.
It's aptly named these days, for sure.
Unfortunately, until we start actually setting contingencies and stop providing services without borders, without hurdles, so to speak, as they would call it, we're just going to see this problem continue to spiral out of control. Right.
Sports analogy.
Yeah, well, I'm a sports star, kind of, right?
Very depressing. All of it, very depressing.
Moving on to monkeys in Florida.
Oh my gosh. Who would have thought? You got some info on the monkeys?
Yeah, we got some info on the... how are we...
Okay, first, like, my basis instinct is to say, like, That sounds like a racist phrase.
It wasn't. I don't know that it was until you said that.
Oh, no.
But that's okay.
It's terrible.
That's good. We'll get some more listeners in the South now, probably.
No, but...
That's good.
No, these little animals are running freely in our subtropical nightmare peninsula.
It's a nightmare. That's for
Nightmare
sure.
peninsula with the snakes.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I like Florida because of the destinations, but at the end of the day, it's just kind of a hellish armpit of the U.S. down there. It's all swampy and hot and wet.
I have worked construction in the summer in Orlando, and I mean,
Orlando.
Yeah, Bill just named all those things. But yeah,
and there's a lot of hillbillies there. It's just so weird though, because of course, growing up,
Florida.
I
could do a whole show on Florida.
Well, and I grew up in the northern part of the country.
Yeah, it's so different.
Right, and so when you think of Florida, you always thought of it as like a tropical.
It's a total lie.
I always thought of Florida as a tropical paradise.
No.
And then you get there, and it's like all hillbillies and
Cubanos,
weird, and like weird plantation-style gas stations on the side of the road trying to sell boiled peanuts and
you can get some
oranges.
Oranges at least.
Yeah, but are they any good even? Or are they, I don't know.
They got variety down there. We don't have that variety.
I know. I just have a hard time stopping at a gas station specifically to get oranges. I mean, if I'm not stopping in Georgia to get candied pecans from Georgia, then I'm not stopping to get oranges at a gas station in Florida. Mainly because I don't want to get off to go to a gas station in Florida if I'm not in a coastal city or Orlando or Miami.
Well, the good news is there's a lot of coast in Florida.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of coast.
Unfortunately, it's just out of the way, and I'm too impatient for that. So unfortunately,
Florida.
we also have monkeys. Monkeys in Ocala. According to WFTV, ABC affiliate down in Florida, we have an Ocala man saying that monkeys from Silver Springs State Park have invaded his property.
Swarming.
Yeah, he lives 4 miles away from the park, but over the last few days, his game camera has taken hundreds of photos of about 50 macaques eating from a deer feeder in his backyard.
So we are feeding the problem.
Yeah. A family visiting the state park last week recorded a video of the monkeys aggressively chasing them and showing their teeth.
Yeah, I was in Indonesia last winter, and I heard horror stories about people being chased through the jungle by these damn monkeys, getting bitten, ending up having to get horrific shots, and oh god, you can get the diseases, and it's just it's third world. I mean, I think that was the whole point of that last rant about Florida is it's becoming third world.
But yeah, it is interesting because now, of course, they have a
theme park.
Python problem too.
Oh, they have a huge python problem.
Python problem.
No pun intended. Huh.
Now they have a monkey problem, apparently.
A monkey. So
I mean, an aggressive monkey problem too. These aren't just monkeys to look at. These are monkeys that come up and bare their teeth at you, apparently.
Yeah, fun. That's what I got a good photo of a monkey bearing his teeth.
Yeah, but that was in Indonesia
it's supposed
or somewhere
to be third
else.
world or
right.
whatnot.
It's not in Florida. In
third
Ocala.
world. No, we will not use that term on this show. That is a loaded term.
Loaded, yeah, it's racist or something.
No, it's antiquated, honest, or unresolved definition of that term. We'll just say the developing world.
Well, so Shaun and I explained earlier that we don't really like to talk conspiracies per se, but we have had a discussion about the potential for a conspiracy here because, of course,
there's a conspiracy?
There's conspiracies because in the Orlando area, there are several theme parks, and Ocala is not all that far from Orlando, if I remember correctly. Related? And I'm not saying they are. I'm not saying they aren't. I wouldn't.
Oh, yes.
But at the end of the day,
this is scary stuff, people.
The more pythons and monkey-infested areas of Florida there are, I feel like property value goes down, and those theme parks have the potential to purchase.
Yeah, they could just go wild.
Right, so,
they could build the monkeys and the snakes into the theme park. A real Jurassic Park.
Well, and trying to figure out where these monkeys and pythons are coming from. I mean, they didn't just show up here,
Yeah, they did.
I mean, they did on the boats owned by Walt Disney World. And
no.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's total lies.
But
Disney has boats.
They got boats.
Oh, they got boats
They
now.
got boats. They got cruise
But
lines.
unrelated to the monkey.
Throw monkeys
problem
in the bottom
or
of it to
snake
bring
problem.
back to lower the value of property around the park so they can expand.
It could work. It could work.
But we'll see. We'll see. So, let's see what else we got on the docket here. Trump. We said we'd come back to Trump today.
Yeah, we can talk about it. But no one even talks about Donald anymore. They talk about Don Jr. He's in the news, baby.
Don Jr.'s in the news. DJ's in the news.
I've been watching the MSNBC all day, all afternoon long, and listening to them tell me what I need to know. And it seems like the story just keeps evolving and changing and getting more and more, refined.
You ever notice how Don Jr. actually looks less like Donald Jr. than his other kid,
Oh,
Eric?
yeah,
Eric looks way more like Donald Trump than Don Jr. Don Jr. is actually not a bad looking guy. He's a good looking guy. I'm gonna give it to him. How old is this guy?
Which one? Who's the one who runs the vineyard?
I don't know.
I think it's him.
They both run Trump Industries or Trump
there's a bunch of
Global
Trump.
or whatever they're calling it.
There's a bunch of Trumps.
But according to the New York Post, DJ here does say during an interview with Fox News that he, quote unquote, probably would have done things a little differently, end quote, when he met with a Russian lawyer to get dirt on Hillary Clinton.
Amateur hour,
yeah, and and unfortunately, little things like this that give credence to all of these constant barrage.
Did they say?
Russia,
didn't they say much ado about nothing?
Yeah, okay, the president's eldest son claimed he was just doing opposition research and that he hadn't told his father about the meeting because there was nothing to tell. I mean, and at the end of the day, that
there probably was nothing to tell, yeah.
I mean, let's not forget that it wasn't but a week ago that there was the expose of 3 CNN reporters who resigned due to...
fake news?
Yeah, saying that they're fake news.
Oh, yeah.
There was the expose that the fellows were followed around by that Project Veritas guy. What's his name?
He's good.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yes.
Oh, that's going to kill me. But anyways, he'd followed those guys around and gotten them to admit that really there was nothing in the Russia stories, that they just kept pushing it because it was ratings.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And can you believe it?
Well, and that's the problem. Unfortunately, when you see stuff like this, it gives it a little bit of credence, but then at the end of the day, they still don't have any actual evidence that there was collusion.
James
so
O'Keefe.
People talk. James O'Keefe, that's it. Yeah.
Project Veritas.org. He's he always brings that undercover journalism to the forefront.
Yeah, he's undercover for sure. I'm surprised he's still able to do it so
I
much
honestly
too.
think he just had I always imagine the guy in like an actual like tan trench coat with like a hat on. Yeah, no, I
with
really
like a white collared shirt and a little black tie.
Yeah, totally.
Sunglasses.
He's totally Mr. Incognito, sleuthing around. It's insane. Like maybe like a male version of Carmen Sandiego. Something.
Well, Netflix is doing a
Carmen Sandiego?
A Carmen Sandiego reboot, I believe. Maybe it's featuring James O'Keefe.
That would be amazing. Oh yeah, the gender fluidity and all. She could be he or whatever they say. Whatever they say.
Zero.
Oh, sorry.
Zebra.
Yeah, we have that new question in our society. What is your gender pronoun?
Gender pronoun. I don't think I have one yet. I'm still learning.
You're learning? Okay, yeah, learning. You gotta. Yeah, it's quite complicated. I found out mine was a tack helicopter.
Nice.
But, yeah, there's a chart.
I always wanted to be a helicopter when I grew up.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is episode 1.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us on our rants for the evening.
Yeah, here are rants. You can even listen to them.